The twin moons of Virelia hung quietly over the silver clouds as a single ship cut through the dark sky. Inside that small human-made craft sat Ethan Cross, a man who once swore he would never return to this world again. His reflection in the glass looked older, harder, and lonelier. Yet behind those tired eyes there was something still alive, a memory he could never bury. Virelia, the alien planet that had once felt like home. The world where he had loved her, Princess Liara. When his ship landed at the outer port, the air shimmered with the same golden mist he remembered. The people stopped and stared. Humans were rare here, but this one, they knew his face. Some whispered. Others looked away. In their eyes he saw the past, a scandal that had almost shaken their empire. The human returns, one of the guards muttered. After all these years, another whispered. Ethan kept his head low and stepped onto the glowing streets. His boots echoed softly against the crystal floor. Every sound, every light, every breath reminded him of what he had lost. The smell of burning incense, the hum of alien music, everything was the same, except for the silence in his heart. He walked past the market square where he once shared laughter with Liara. He could almost see her again, standing in the crowd, smiling beneath her silver crown. She had eyes like starlight and a voice that made the world stop. But that was long ago, before he disappeared, before he left her without a word. As Ethan entered the city gates, he noticed the banners of the royal house. Still bright, still proud. He wondered if she still wore his gift, a simple pendant made of human metal, useless to her people but precious to her heart. He wondered if she still hated him. The moment his presence reached the palace, the guards surrounded him. They didn't speak at first. They didn't need to. One of them held out a hand, his armor glowing blue. "You are commanded to appear before Princess Liara of Virelia," the guard said. Ethan only nodded. I expected that. They led him through long halls carved from crystal and light. The same halls he once walked beside her, back when the air between them was filled with laughter instead of regret. Every step now felt heavier. Inside the throne chamber, silence ruled. The doors opened slowly, and there she was. Liara. She sat upon her throne, surrounded by advisors and guards. She hadn't aged a day. Or maybe her beauty had simply evolved into something sharper, colder. Her silver hair shimmered like frost under starlight. But her eyes burned with quiet fire. For a long moment, neither spoke. The room felt frozen. Then with a voice that was both calm and trembling, Liara said, "So, the human finally returns." Ethan bowed slightly, his tone low. "Your Highness," her lips twitched, but it wasn't a smile. "You left without a word. You vanished like smoke. Do you know what your silence did to me? To this world?" Ethan said nothing. The words stuck in his throat. He wanted to tell her everything, but how do you explain a truth that can destroy someone you love? "Speak," she snapped, rising from her throne. "Why did you leave me?" He met her gaze for the first time. In his eyes she saw something that made her step back, pain deeper than guilt and a secret heavier than anger. "I left," he said slowly, "because if I told you the truth, you would have never forgiven me. Or yourself." The court fell silent. Even the guards looked uneasy. Liara's voice dropped to a whisper. "What truth?" Ethan's expression hardened. "Not here. Not in front of them." For a long second she studied him. The human who had broken her heart yet still carried something she could not name. Then she waved her hand. The guards withdrew. The advisors bowed and left the chamber. Now it was just the two of them, alone again after all these years. Liara took a slow step forward, her eyes glistening. "You owe me an answer, Ethan Cross. You owe me the reason for every night I stayed awake wondering if you ever cared." Ethan looked down, his voice soft. "I cared more than you'll ever know. That's why I disappeared," her breath caught. "Then tell me, what truth could make you run from me?" He looked up at her, and in that moment the warmth of the past and the cold of the present clashed like lightning between them. "The kind," he said quietly, "that can destroy everything you were born to believe." Liara's eyes widened, a flicker of fear and curiosity mingling in her gaze. The silence between them deepened, heavy as the air before a storm, and as the twin moons rose higher, one thought echoed in her mind. Whatever truth he carried, It was something she might never be ready to hear. The heavy doors of the throne room closed behind them with a deep echo. The sound rolled through the crystal walls like thunder underwater. For a long while, neither Ethan Cross nor Princess Liara spoke. The air between them felt too thick, too full of things left unsaid. Liara stood tall, her silver armor catching the light. Once that same armor had been polished by Ethan's hands before her coronation. Now it gleamed like a wall between them. She looked at him with eyes that once softened when they met his. But tonight they were sharp as blades. After all these years, she began quietly. You return without warning, without message. You think you can just walk into my palace as if nothing happened? Ethan didn't move. I didn't come here to erase the past, he said. I came because the truth won't stay buried anymore. Her jaw tightened.
Truth?
Her voice rose, cold and clear. You speak of truth when all you left me with were lies and silence and shadows. Ethan stepped closer, his voice steady but low. I left to protect you, Liara. That single name, her name, hit her like a spark. Don't, she snapped. You lost the right to speak it the day you vanished. Her words cut deep, but he didn't flinch. You think I wanted to disappear? You think I wanted to live with this weight all these years? Liara's hands trembled, though she tried to hide it behind her royal composure. Then tell me, Ethan. Tell me what was so terrible that you chose to break my heart instead of facing it with me. He looked around the chamber. The walls shimmered faintly, infused with living light. Not here, he murmured. Even walls have ears. Liara tilted her head slightly, her tone sharp but curious. You believe I would let my own palace spy on us? I believe you don't know what listens anymore, he said softly. Her breath caught. The words were strange, dangerous. She took a step closer, searching his face. The last time she saw him, he had been a young man full of warmth and hope. Now he looked like a survivor from a forgotten war. Fine, she said finally. Follow me. She led him down a narrow corridor behind the throne. They walked in silence, their footsteps echoing off the walls. The hallway opened into a small garden dome filled with glowing flowers. The scent of moon blossoms filled the air, sweet and ancient. It was the same place where they had shared their first secret kiss under the twin moons. For a moment, time seemed to bend. The years between them vanished. Then Liara turned sharply, her eyes glistening. Now talk, no guards, no witnesses. Just you and me. Ethan stared at the flowers, remembering her laughter in this very spot. You once told me, he began slowly, that the royals were chosen by the stars, born to protect life on Varelia. Yes, she replied. It's what every child here learns. It's our duty, our blessing. He nodded. And what if that blessing isn't a gift, but a theft? Her expression froze. What are you saying? He met her gaze. I found something years ago, while working in the royal archives. Hidden data. Locked behind codes no human should have been able to read. It showed the truth about your royal line. Liara took a step back. You're lying. I wish I were, Ethan whispered. The royal bloodline of Varelia survives by taking the life energy of the people. The royal heart absorbs it from every living being, to heal, to stay young, to keep power. You were born into that curse. Her eyes widened in disbelief. The light from the flowers flickered as her power trembled unconsciously. No, she said softly. You're wrong. That's impossible. I saw the records, Liara, he said firmly. I confirmed them myself. Every royal generation drains a piece of this planet's soul to live. When I found out, I couldn't tell you. You didn't deserve to bear that guilt. Her voice broke. So instead you ran. You left me to wonder if I wasn't enough? He looked down, his fists clenched. If I stayed, I would have told you the truth, and that truth would have destroyed you. I thought leaving was the kinder choice. Her tears glimmered in the moonlight. You call this kindness? You left me to rule over a lie. The silence after her words was sharp. The glowing flowers dimmed, as if the planet itself mourned. Ethan took a slow step forward. Liara, I didn't want to hurt you, but now the curse is spreading. The drain is faster than before. If it continues, this world will die, and you with it. She stared at him, her lips trembling. You expect me to believe that my life kills my people? Yes, he said quietly. And that's the truth you weren't ready to hear. Liara turned away, her shoulders shaking. For the first time in years, the proud princess looked small. After a long silence, she whispered, "Then help me fix it." Ethan looked at her in shock. "What?" She turned back, eyes full of fire. "You say this curse came from my bloodline. Then I'll end it, whatever it takes." He stared at her, seeing again the courage that had first made him love her. For a moment the pain faded, replaced by something brighter. Fragile hope, but deep down, he knew what ending this curse might truly cost. And as the wind moved through the glowing garden, both of them understood. This was only the beginning of the storm. The night over Varelia was silent, except for the soft hum of the energy domes that protected the royal city. In the garden, the moon blossoms still glowed faintly where Ethan Cross and Princess Liara had spoken their painful truths. But after she left, Ethan stayed behind, standing under the pale light like a shadow of the past. His mind drifted back to the days when everything had begun, before the heartbreak, before the lies, before the curse that now threatened their world. Years ago, the beginning, when Ethan first arrived on Varelia, he was just a young engineer from Earth, assigned to a joint science mission. Humanity and the Varelians had formed a fragile alliance. Humans brought technology, while the aliens shared energy secrets that could reshape both worlds. Ethan had been fascinated by Varelia's beauty. Floating mountains, rivers of light, and a sky filled with shimmering moons. It was like stepping into a dream. But even more fascinating was Princess Liara, the heir of the Varelian throne. She was nothing like he imagined. Instead of arrogance, she carried curiosity. She asked questions no other royal dared to ask. "Why do humans build machines to live longer?" she once said, "when you could learn to live better instead?" That question had made him smile. And slowly a friendship began, one that neither of them could hide for long. They met often, secretly at first, in the royal garden, near the glowing fountains, under the endless night sky. She showed him the ancient halls of her people. He showed her how humans mapped stars, how they dreamed of traveling forever. But something dark began to whisper at the edges of their world. Ethan had noticed strange things during his work in the royal laboratories. Data logs missing, life energy readings that didn't make sense. Every time the royal family performed their ritual of renewal, hundreds of citizens fell sick across the empire. At first, he thought it was a coincidence. Then he started connecting the dots. The same pattern every few years. Energy spikes, then mass weakness. And then he found File 0 Varel, hidden behind encrypted royal codes. It was old, maybe thousands of years, but it held the truth. The document described something called the Heart of Continuum. It wasn't a myth, as everyone believed. It was real, an ancient bioenergy core fused into the royal bloodline generations ago. The first king of Varelia had bound himself to the planet's living energy, promising eternal stability. But he didn't realize that stability came at a cost. The royal bloodline drew strength directly from the planet's life force. Every healing, every long life, every blessing of beauty, all stolen from the world itself. Ethan had stared at the data for hours, refusing to believe it. He had rechecked, tested, and simulated everything. The answer never changed. The Varelians' royal power was killing their planet, and the woman he loved was born from that same curse. He remembered the night he tried to tell her. It was raining golden dust, the kind that shimmered when it touched skin. Liara had been waiting for him in the garden, excited. "I've told my father about you," she said with a smile. "He thinks your people may help us heal the planet's core." Ethan froze. His heart sank. The royal father, the same man who guarded the secret of File 0 Virel, wanted his help. "Liara," he whispered, "you don't understand. The problem isn't the planet. It's the royal bloodline itself." She laughed lightly at first, thinking it was a joke. But when she saw his face, pale, broken, afraid, her smile vanished. "What are you saying?" she asked. He wanted to tell her everything, but he couldn't. If the king found out, Ethan would vanish before sunrise. Worse, Liara might be punished for even listening. "I can't stay," he said, his voice breaking. "I found something dangerous. You must forget me." Liara reached for his hand. "Ethan, you're scaring me. Whatever it is, we can fix it together." He shook his head, tears in his eyes. "If I stay, you'll hate me. You'll hate yourself, and I can't let that happen." Then he ran. He left her standing in the glowing rain, calling his name as he disappeared into the mist. Now, years later, those memories cut deeper than any wound. He could still hear her voice, Unbroken, calling after him, and he could still see her face when she realized he was gone. Back in the present, Ethan closed his eyes, the garden around him silent again. The truth had been too heavy to share then, but now it was too late to hide. He knew that once Liara confirmed the truth for herself, she wouldn't forgive him for leaving. But she also wouldn't forgive her own people for the lie. As the moons glowed brighter above, Ethan whispered to the air, "Forgive me, Liara, for saving you the wrong way." But deep in the palace, Liara wasn't sleeping. She stood before the ancient archives. Her hand pressed against the energy seal that protected forbidden data. Ethan's words echoed in her head. "The royal heart absorbs the life of the planet." Her eyes hardened. "Then I'll find out myself," she said quietly. The seal opened. The light inside pulsed like a living heart, and for the first time in her life, the alien princess saw what her family truly was. The ancient archives of Viralia pulsed with living energy, each wall alive with symbols that shimmered like stars. It was the sacred heart of the royal palace, a place no outsider had ever entered. But tonight Princess Liara stood before it, her heart pounding in her chest. The air smelled of burning crystal and old secrets. Her hand hovered over the energy seal. A whisper from the system asked for royal blood. Without hesitation, she pressed her palm against the surface. The barrier dissolved in a storm of light. Rows of glowing tablets and floating screens filled the chamber. Each contained the recorded history of her bloodline, the story of her people's power and pride. Yet as she stepped deeper, the lights flickered as if afraid to reveal what hid within. Her trembling fingers found an old data core. The title burned in her language. The Heart of Continuum, Royal Directive, Restricted. The words of Ethan Cross echoed in her head. "Your family's strength comes from the planet's pain." Liara opened the file. At first she saw only symbols and diagrams, too complex even for her. Then the meaning unfolded. Energy flow charts, genetic maps, and a single horrifying statement written by the first king himself. "The royal heart binds to the core. For every royal breath, 1,000 lives shall fade, so that the empire may stand eternal." Liara staggered back. Her vision blurred. She tried to close the file, but the system kept showing more. Logs, medical records, energy graphs. All proving the same thing. Her family didn't protect Viralia. They drained it. Her lips parted and a choked sound escaped. "No, this can't be." She fell to her knees, clutching her chest. The energy around her pulsed violently, reacting to her pain. In another part of the palace, Ethan paced the corridors restlessly. He had told her the truth, but he feared how she would handle it. Liara was strong, stronger than anyone he'd known. But the truth could shatter even the hardest heart. He didn't have to wait long. The chamber doors burst open. Liara stormed in, her face pale, her eyes burning with fury and tears. "You were right," she said, her voice trembling. "You were right about everything." Ethan froze. "You went to the archives?" "I saw it all," she shouted, her voice echoing through the hall. "My family, my father, every generation. We've been living off the life of our own people." Ethan took a step toward her. "Liara, don't," she snapped. "Don't come closer. I can't even breathe right now." She turned away, her silver hair flickering with light as her energy grew unstable. "I never wanted you to see that," he said softly. "That's why I left." Her laugh came out bitter and broken. "You think leaving made it better? You think silence protected me?" "No, Ethan, it only made me blind." Her words pierced him, but he didn't fight back. He just stood there, his face heavy with regret. Liara walked to the window overlooking the city. Below, the lights of Viralia sparkled. Millions of innocent souls living their ordinary lives unaware of the truth above them. "I was born a thief," she whispered. "Every heartbeat I've ever had came from someone else's suffering." Ethan's voice was quiet but firm. "You didn't choose this. None of you did. But I benefited from it," she said, tears spilling down her cheeks. "Every royal blessing, every drop of strength came from pain. How can I ever face them now?" He moved beside her slowly, careful not to touch her. "By facing the truth. By doing what no one before you dared to do." She turned to him, her eyes fierce. "And what is that?" "End it," he said. End the curse. Break the bond between your blood and the planet. Her lips trembled. You make it sound so simple. It's not, he said. It might kill you, but it'll save your world. Liara looked away, her hands clenched. All this time I thought my duty was to protect my people. I never knew that to protect them. I'd have to destroy myself. Ethan swallowed hard. If there's another way, I'll find it. I promise. She looked into his eyes, searching for a lie, but found only pain and truth. For a moment, the distance between them melted. The memories of laughter, of shared dreams, of soft words under twin moons, they all came flooding back. Then, quietly, she said, I wish you'd stayed. His voice cracked. So do I. Silence fell again. The soft hum of the city filled the air. Finally, Liara straightened her shoulders. Her royal calm returned, but her eyes were no longer proud. They were resolute. Tomorrow I'll call the council. If the royal line is the source of this curse, they need to hear it from me. Ethan stared at her, fear tightening in his chest. They'll turn on you, Liara. I know, she said, looking toward the horizon. But they deserve the truth. All of them do. And as the first light of dawn began to creep over the alien skyline, Liara whispered to herself, let the crown break, if it means the world can live. The dawn over Varelia rose red, not from sunlight but from fire. Smoke curled above the royal city, and the air buzzed with tension. What began as whispers of doubt had grown into something dangerous, unstoppable. Princess Liara's confession had spread across the empire like lightning. Someone from the royal court had leaked her speech to the media channels, her trembling voice admitting the unthinkable truth. Our strength was never a blessing. It was built upon your suffering, and I will end it. The streets erupted. Some called her brave, a savior. Others shouted her name with hatred. The once glorious palace now stood surrounded by citizens demanding justice. Inside the palace, the sound of chaos echoed through the crystal halls. Guards ran in panic. Advisors argued in desperation. And at the heart of it all stood Liara, calm but haunted. She gazed out the tall window at the burning city below. They deserve their anger, she whispered. Behind her, Ethan Cross watched, his face lined with worry. They deserve the truth, yes, he said quietly. But anger can eat truth alive. Liara turned toward him, her golden eyes glowing faintly. You warned me this would happen. I warned you because I've seen it before, Ethan said, stepping closer. When the truth finally breaks free, it burns everything in its path. She gave a soft, sad smile. Then maybe this world needs to burn before it can heal. Outside, the crowd roared. Down with the bloodline. End the curse. No more royal lies. The people who once worshipped her now demanded her downfall. But not everyone wanted peace. In the shadows, the High Council, elders who had ruled beside the throne for centuries, gathered in secret. Their leader, Minister Kale, slammed his fist on the table. The princess has doomed us all. The bond cannot be broken. The royal heart must continue or the world will collapse. She threatens the entire system, another elder hissed. The people will tear us apart. Kale's eyes narrowed. Then we silence her, and the human who brought this poison to our world. Meanwhile, in the grand hall, Liara and Ethan planned their next move. I need access to the Continuum core, Liara said. It's the source of the royal bond. If I can reach it, I might weaken the connection. Ethan shook his head. The core is guarded by the High Council. They'll kill anyone who gets near it. Then we go before they know, she said firmly. You mean we, he corrected. Liara looked at him surprised. Ethan, this isn't your fight anymore. You could still leave, he smiled faintly. I left once. That was my biggest mistake. Not again. For the first time in days, she let herself smile. Small, tired, but real. Then we moved tonight. But fate had other plans. Before sunset, the palace trembled as an explosion ripped through its western wing. The floor shook. Dust fell from the ceilings. Ethan grabbed Liara and shielded her as the shockwave roared past them. What was that? She gasped. Council attack, he said grimly. They're making their move. Through the smoke, armored guards loyal to the council stormed in, weapons drawn. Seize the princess, one shouted. Ethan fired his blaster, stunning the first guard. Go run, he shouted. Liara hesitated, torn between fighting and fleeing. Then she saw the blood, her people fighting each other. She turned and ran with Ethan through the hidden corridors she had once used as a child. Alarms screamed through the palace. The air stank of ozone and fear. They reached the lower tunnels, the old paths leading toward the continuum chamber. Ethan stopped, catching his breath. "They'll follow us." "I know," she said, looking back at the flickering lights behind them. "But if we can reach the core, we can end this war before it begins." Her words were full of hope, but her eyes held something else. Guilt and determination mixed into one. As night fell, the uprising outside grew louder. The people had broken through the palace gates. Flames licked the crystal towers, painting the sky orange. Liara and Ethan reached the final gate, a massive door pulsing with blue energy. Beyond it lay the continuum core, the ancient heart of Virelia's power. "Once I go inside," she said softly, "there's no turning back." Ethan looked at her, his voice steady. "Then I'm going with you." She touched his hand, just for a moment, a gesture filled with everything they had lost and everything still left to lose. "If we fail," she said, "promise me one thing." "What?" "Tell my people I tried." The door began to open with a deep hum. The light was blinding, alive. As it grew brighter, Ethan turned toward her, his voice barely a whisper over the roar. "No, Liara, you're not going to try. You're going to end this." And together, they stepped into the light, unaware that behind them, the High Council had unleashed their final weapon, the Royal Sentinels, machines powered by the very curse they sought to destroy. The continuum chamber was unlike anything Ethan had ever seen. A vast sphere of living energy filled the center, pulsing like a beating heart. Streams of light flowed through the air like veins of pure power, connecting the walls, the floor, and the great crystal core in the middle. Every pulse of light was a heartbeat of the planet itself, and of Princess Liara's royal bloodline. Ethan and Liara stepped inside slowly. The air vibrated around them. It wasn't just sound, it was life. He could feel the hum deep in his bones. "This is it," Liara whispered. "The continuum core. The heart that feeds the royal line." Ethan stared at it in awe and dread. "It's beautiful and horrifying." Liara nodded, eyes filled with both sorrow and determination. "All my life I thought this power was sacred, that it made us protectors. But it's a cage, a chain around the world's soul." She approached the central platform. Her footsteps echoed softly as the floor reacted to her energy. Symbols glowed beneath her feet, recognizing the royal blood that had come to claim its throne. "The system will listen to you," Ethan said, his voice tense. "You're the last true heir." Liara placed her hands on the console. A voice, soft, mechanical, ancient, filled the air. Royal DNA confirmed. "State your command." She took a deep breath. "I command the continuum to release its hold on the planetary core." The voice paused. "Warning, process will terminate all royal life signatures." Ethan's chest tightened. "Wait, it'll kill you." Liara looked back at him with calm eyes. "I know." "No," he said firmly, stepping forward. "We'll find another way." "There is no other way," she whispered. "This curse began with the first royal. It must end with the last." Her voice trembled slightly, but her gaze was steady. Ethan grabbed her arm. "Liara, please. You don't have to die for their sins." She looked at him, her eyes full of warmth and grief. "And yet, I'm the only one who can." Before he could stop her, she turned back to the console and began the sequence. Energy flared around the chamber. The lights grew blinding, swirling into massive streams of blue and white. Outside, the palace shook as a low hum spread through the city. The uprising paused as the sky above Virelia began to glow. Every being on the planet felt the pull of the core, a strange calm mixed with fear. Ethan shielded his eyes. "Liara, stop. You'll destroy yourself." She smiled faintly. "Maybe this is what it means to rule. To give, not take." The system's voice echoed again. Energy release in progress. Containment failure imminent. Lightning arced through the air. The walls cracked with light. Ethan ran toward her, grabbing her shoulders. "There has to be another way." Her energy flared, throwing him back. "Go," she shouted. "If you stay, you'll die too." He struggled to stand, smoke rising around him. "Then I'll die with you." Her eyes filled with tears. "You already gave me everything, Ethan. Don't make me take your life too." She turned away, her hands glowing as she channeled her life force into the core. Streams of light flowed from her body, from her veins, her heart, her very soul. The machine roared as the royal connection began to break. Outside, the people looked up as the sky changed color. The stars above Virelia brightened. Trees that had been dead for years began to bloom again. The world was healing, at the cost of its last princess. Inside the chamber, Ethan fought through the blinding storm. He reached her just as her knees buckled. He caught her, pulling her into his arms. Her skin was glowing like starlight. "Stay with me," he whispered desperately. Her voice was soft, fading. "It's beautiful, isn't it? The way life returns when greed ends." Ethan's tears fell onto her face, shining in the light. "Don't leave me, Liara," she smiled weakly. "You once said humans build machines to live longer. I understand now. You build them because you fear losing love, but love, it's meant to end, Ethan. That's what makes it real." Her fingers brushed his cheek, light as air, before they went still. The core pulsed one last time, then shattered in a brilliant burst of light. The energy exploded upward, shooting into the heavens. The royal curse was broken, and in that same moment, Princess Liara of Virelia, last of her line, was gone. When the light faded, Ethan stood alone in the quiet ruins of the chamber. The hum was gone. The planet was silent, peaceful. He fell to his knees beside the empty space where she had been, the air still warm with her energy. Outside, the people of Virelia watched as the skies cleared. The fires stopped. The land, long dying, began to breathe again. They didn't know who had saved them. Only that the curse was lifted. Ethan whispered into the silence, "You kept your promise, Liara. You saved them all." And as he looked up, a faint shimmer of light danced above him, her voice echoing softly in the air. "Live well, my human." He closed his eyes and let the tears fall. The alien world was alive again, but his heart would never be the same. The world of Virelia had never known peace like this. For the first time in centuries, the sky was clear. No red storms, no trembling ground, no hungry hum from beneath the soil. The great crystal rivers glowed with soft light again, flowing like veins of rebirth through the land. But for Ethan Cross, peace was just another kind of silence. He stood alone on a high cliff overlooking the capital. The ruins of the old palace shimmered below, half buried in wildflowers that had sprouted overnight. The people were rebuilding, laughing, living, but he could not join them. His heart remained in the continuum chamber with her. Days had passed since Princess Liara's sacrifice, but her memory clung to him like starlight that refused to fade. Every night, when the twin moons rose, he imagined her standing beside him, calm, proud, and full of the same quiet strength that had changed an entire world. He had stayed behind to help rebuild. He taught the engineers how to stabilize the planet's freed energy. He worked with the healers, guiding them to use the new life force without greed. But at night, when all lights dimmed, he returned here, to the hill that faced the remains of her tower. It was here that he found the message. It was a quiet evening. The sky was purple, the air heavy with the scent of alien blossoms. Ethan was studying a small energy crystal, one of the last fragments recovered from the destroyed core. It pulsed faintly, almost like a heartbeat. He turned it over in his hand, and then suddenly light flared from within. A voice broke the silence, soft, familiar. "Ethan," he froze. The crystal hovered above his palm, glowing brighter. It was her. Liara's voice. "Ethan, if you're hearing this, then I am gone. I recorded this message through the royal matrix before the final sequence. I knew you would stay, you always do." His breath caught. He sank to the ground, eyes wet, heart pounding. Liara's voice continued, gentle but full of the warmth he remembered. "I wanted to tell you. I wasn't afraid. Not at the end. When I saw the light, I didn't feel pain or I felt peace. I felt every life this planet had lost returning home, and in that moment I understood something you once said. The crystal's glow shifted to soft gold, like a heartbeat made of sunlight. You said humanity's greatest strength isn't power or knowledge. It's love. The ability to care even when it hurts. I never understood it until you came into my life." Ethan closed his eyes, holding the crystal close to his chest. Her voice trembled slightly, as if smiling through tears. "You taught me that love isn't possession, it's giving. You gave me your truth, your heart, and your forgiveness, and I gave you my world. Don't waste either of them." The light flickered. The message was ending. Liara's voice grew faint. If the people rebuild, guide them. If they forget me, let them. I didn't do this to be remembered. I did it so they could live. But if you ever look at the stars and feel alone, know that somewhere in that light I'm watching with you. The crystal dimmed. A final whisper drifted out, soft as the wind. Goodbye, my human. Then the glow faded, and silence returned. Ethan stayed still for a long time. The stars above blurred through his tears. He wanted to speak and to answer mine, but no words came. Only a trembling breath escaped him. He stood slowly, holding the small crystal to his heart. You didn't just save your world, Liara, he whispered. You saved me. As he looked toward the city, he saw children running through the new gardens, their laughter echoing like music. Alien and human engineers worked side by side, rebuilding not just homes, but hope. Maybe that was what she wanted. A world that no longer needed gods or royals, only people brave enough to care. Ethan walked down the path to the valley. At the center of the new city stood a memorial, a single statue carved from the shattered palace crystal. It showed Liara standing tall, hands open, face lifted toward the sky. He placed the small glowing crystal at its base. The light spread slowly, flowing through the statue, illuminating it from within. Her face glowed once more, not as a queen, but as the woman who had given everything. The crowd that had gathered bowed their heads. Some whispered her name. Others simply watched in awe. Ethan took one last look and smiled faintly. Rest now, princess, he said softly. Your world is alive. He turned toward the horizon, the twin moons rising behind him. The light fell on his back as he walked away, a lone human among aliens, carrying her memory into tomorrow, and high above, in the quiet glow of the stars, a shimmer of light flickered, went like a whisper from another world. Thank you. Ethan, he stopped and looked up, smiling through his tears. Always, he whispered back.